Hi, welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. In this podcast, we dive into compassionate leadership in today's fast-paced business environment. With our experience and insights, we'll help you lead with heart while securing your career. Join us for engaging conversations and practical advice to elevate your leadership skills and make a real difference. I'm your host, Roberto Torres, a seasoned startup engineering leader, alongside Chris Ollerkin, a Fortune 100 IT leader. Today, we will discuss how humane leadership must act by nurturing resilience in the AI age. Hey, Chris, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Roberto, and AI is impacting me, so I bet it's impacting you.
It is impacting many people, even though they might not have heard of AI.
I think if you haven't heard of AI, I'd be amazed that you ever hear our podcast. Man, I see it on everything. It's on the news. It's on all my channels and things that I listen to. It is a very hot topic, and I think it is going to start to impact how we as leaders work with our employees. It's certainly going to affect jobs in general, but I think as a humane leader, it's going to have some very interesting impacts. What do you think the first thing is going to happen with AI and leadership?
Well, I think that for some or for the many should bring more benefits rather than negative traits. And what I meant by this is since we don't know everything, and we only know a part of something regarding leadership or whatever, we're going to use more AI to have it as it is an assistant. Let's say let's take it to the human leadership style. Let's say that a manager or someone which has a leadership position has a problem with a report, specifically something maybe regarding frustration, okay? Tolerance to frustration. And you don't know how to act. You will ask a model what to do. Hey, I have this problem with my report. She is feeling this way. The context is like this, and the model will bring an answer. I think the managers leadership will use AI for that purpose. When you don't know how to act, maybe you don't have, maybe your tolerance to frustration isn't as high as it should be, or to provide a maybe an advice of what to do. So maybe those kind of leaders will turn into AI to ask for this.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Let's set a little ground rules. Let's assume that we can access AI without violating people's privacy. So again, let's not get into the whole debate of, has it got information it shouldn't have? Are you feeding it information that needs to stay inside the company? So let's just assume all the privacy issues with AI are secured. So we don't have to worry about those, right? So let's talk about how we might use it for humane leadership. I myself, when I've had to write some personal notes with sensitivity, I want to convey to someone a particular sensitivity around something, and I am a terrible writer. Now, people may listen to the podcast and say, you speak well. I do. I think in general, I have good public speaking skills. I am an awful writer. My wife will tell everybody on the planet that, when I was in school, I needed help, writing my papers and stuff. If I was doing a presentation in front of the class, no problem. Writing something, I'm terrible. I'll tell you what, ChatGPT on non-corporate things, I've used it to help recompose messages, both things I've done with the county government, things I've done with some friends where I wanted to make sure the thank you note was really what I meant. It did an amazing job of making me a more sensitive, more clear communicator. And I think in humane leadership, that's one of the key things, is that as you communicate to that employee around, let's say, frustration, that AI gives you a very good opinion of how that message is being conveyed and gives you an alternative opinion that is somewhat objective, right? I could run that opinion by you and I'll get your opinion on things. I think AI can become that additional opinion that might be a little more objective to listen to what you're trying to fix, how you're going to phrase it, what words you're going to use, and give you another opinion that you can draw upon before you make your final decision on how you're going to work with that employee. I've been amazed at what it's doing, even in the current versions that are, publicly available for chat, GPT. It's going to change how we all do things.
Yeah, let me tell you that I had a problem with a peer, and usually what I would have done would be to maybe stick to my experience and tell this peer something. But I say, should I? But what I did was ask ChatGPT or the model. Hey, I had this problem with this peer. What should I do? And the model provided me with an answer that was 90 degrees away from my train of thought. And the thing is, when I read it, I said, "Oh my God, I never thought of this. I never thought that I could tell or maybe say something like that, but it makes totally sense." And it was when I told the model, I told a context, and I said, I want you the answer to be political and with the diplomacy, and told me something that I said, oh my God. So I wrote an email to my peer with that response based on that. And the answer from my peer was amazing. And we settled down our problems. We move forward. So I think that these AI models help us to understand some other point of views, because when we stick, we have these blinders, as we have mentioned in several episodes, in which we don't see everything. By the way, with the whole perspective is something that we did, but we must use the AI wisely, because we might say in the context, and we might say with the AI model to stick with our mindset. I think that the beauty of the AI is that we could have an expert, yes, but we could have many different perspectives, different than our own, and we could choose which could be better as humane leaders, not as leaders, as humane leaders to act upon.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's two key things to think about. I think that in one instance, non-AI, there's always the risk that as humane leaders, even as humane leaders, we need to realize that the people we seek for opinions may be too closely aligned to us. In other words, the reason we may like their opinions and seek them out is that they are completely aligned with us, which means the odds of them taking that 90-degree turn and giving you a fresh viewpoint on a topic is probably less likely. So as humane leaders, we need to recognize our biases. Maybe that we also collect peers for opinions that are biased, that are aligned to our biases. The other thing with AI is to always keep in mind, it is just that, just another opinion. So while we seek opinions from our peers who may be aligned to us, we are also getting an opinion or a perspective out of AI that we need to analyze and decide, is it valued? Because there have been many examples published in the news where AI was completely wrong. Now, it was more technical things. There was one highly publicized case here in the US where some lawyer didn't have enough time and used ChatGPT to do a case brief before a judge. and all of the case law it cited with the specific case numbers and what court was all fake. He didn't bother to look up a single case then that it mentioned to see if the cases were even real. They were not real. So ChatGPT actually made up facts. Now, as being a humane leader, we don't deal with hard facts. Things are soft. Things are biased by our opinions. And there is not necessarily one right way to approach a frustrated employee or an employee who has an absentee problem or et cetera, the kinds of things we have to deal with as humane leaders. So use AI. I think leaders who use AI in a safe way that's secure are going to have an additional opinion that they can draw on, but they still, as a humane leader, have to weigh all those opinions and decide what's the right way to go in this very unique human situation. Because again, it's only an opinion. Always treat that as an opinion, and opinions, can be wrong and they may not apply. You may have two different employees, both with an absenteeism problem that you're trying to deal with. But one employee, needs this other kind of method to try and get them to confront their absenteeism problem. And AI may not, understand that for the other one. You can't do it exactly the same way for all employees. So always use it as an opinion, but I think it's going to be very valuable to help us kind of get a different perspective on how to be more humane. And it's a machine.
Yeah, and you mentioned it is like that. It is when the model sends you or tells you something in the response, it is an opinion. It's up to you to decide and to choose if you take it plainly like that or you fix it something like that, because it happens the same when we spoke to a mentor. A mentor who knows us, we know this mentor, we will tell this person, okay, I had this problem, what do you think I should do? Or maybe this mentor will ask us questions, and with that, maybe he or she will tell us, okay, you should do this, you should go to this path, or maybe a good mentor will ask us more questions so we can decide what to do. It happens the same with the model. We had to choose what to grab, what to fetch, what not to, and to use our better judgment to apply that to our problems. But it is not a 100% reason or 100% response, as you mentioned, the example of the lawyer. But yes, because I have seen, between quotes, I have seen that people have done, and I watch it on Instagram, people have used ChatGPT for their votes, before getting married. So it's up to you if you decide to use it.
Yeah, you got to be careful. If you're writing a Valentine's message to your wife, be very careful about what ChatGPT tells you to do. But I think it might help you, if you're not good with words. I'm not particularly good with, again, the written word, and I've seen where ChatGPT has really helped me on various different topics in terms of writing and conveying messages. And being a humane leader is always about conveying a message. A humane leader is about communication. And if AI can help you communicate better, it's a good thing. But keep in mind, it's an opinion. And it's just like your peers. It's an opinion. Opinion can be wrong. It can be right. You can take portions of the opinion and use it, and you can discard other portions of the opinion. So I do think it will be very helpful for humane leaders who use it effectively. I think if you blindly follow it, it's going to be trouble, and that's where we're going to get into, leadership wants to reduce the cost of running their business, so I'm going to replace half my frontline managers with an AI. Okay, you could do that, and it might be okay for a while, but I think when you run into true leadership problems, the AI, at least in the current versions, is going to miss the subtleties of how you deal with different people in different ways, even though the root cause of the problem, I keep picking absenteeism, but let's suppose it's being tardy or late to work or whatever the leadership HR problem is. I think AI, could get it right sometimes, but I think it doesn't catch the subtlety of how a leader deals with each problem with each unique individual. You're always following the same rules for everybody because you have to. You got to be fair and equitable. But how you apply them, how you communicate to that employee to get the issue resolved is never the same, even though the situation may be very similar. And AI, as it is today, doesn't totally get that subtle difference. When it does, you and I will be out of jobs. Of course, I'll be retired. You'll be retired probably by then. But I think it's very useful right now. It is extremely useful even right now today in its current version.
Okay. One thing that you must know is that maybe I will never retire because I love working so much and in development and engineering and I'm up to the challenge and I'm up to the everything. So I might not do it, but sticking with the AI, you mentioned conveying messages, and indeed, AI convey messages. But we as human and humane leaders, we have to convey those messages with emotions and to use emotional intelligence, maybe using resilience, most of that, and maybe a lot of soft skills, because we can read what AI provides us to a third person with zero emotion, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. No, no, no. We have to, because when we're speaking with another human, we are not machines. We're humans that we have to convey a message with a purpose and to put on emotion. So be either, okay, Chris, you got a raise, congratulations. No, hey, Chris, hey, congratulations, you had a raise. No, so we have to take the foundation of ourselves as humane leaders, what to do, how to say it, when to say it. If AI is going to provide us with the answer, well, as we have spoken, we don't have to take it 100%, and it's going to be like that. We have, excuse me, we have to take it and maybe modify it, but we have to print what is ourselves. What is Roberto, what is Chris, what is whatever is here in this podcast. So with that in mind, we could have a much better response for the problem, for the situations, for the acknowledgement, for everything, for the other person. Maybe it is not one person, it could be a team. We could be speaking to a whole team. So what we want to do is to remain a humane leader, use the AI tools as not a foundation, but maybe as an advice, as you mentioned, as an opinion, and take the best and decide what not to use and to be true of ourselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think if AI is properly modeled and fed the right data, so using my example where the lawyer used it and the data was fake, let's suppose you have an AI model that has all the stuff that ChatGPT does, but it also has your full company's HR policies, all the employee guidelines, all those kinds of things. The AI then might help you as you explain the situation to it, give you more options in terms of how to help the employee. So just as an example, let's suppose the employee, they're having a performance problem with them, but it's because they have a family medical issue, a spouse or a child is sick, and in the country that they're in, you're not a native of that country, and the policies on family leave and how they take medical time off is all different. You might be able to be a much more successful humane leader if the AI can help you understand the unique policies and what you can offer the employee. Because if you read through every HR policy for every country that your company's doing work in, you'd never get anything else done. And there may be clauses in some of these policies that are very long that you are difficult to understand how to apply in the situation. So sometimes a humane leader needs help technically. So, a specific AI that's fed all those policies and procedures could help a leader be even more humane, because you can then understand what you can offer the employee. Hey, you know what, in your country, different than mine, you can take family leave 1 day a week. In the US, it's you're either in or you're out. You're on family leave and you're out for days and weeks in a row. You can't do like, well, I need family leave every Friday. US doesn't do it that way.
Yeah.
But in other countries, they might. So an AI could help you be a better humane leader technically also, if it's properly fed the right information. And I think maybe some of the AI problems that we see today is because they're very generic AIs.
Yes, and today we could speak about ChatGPT, but there are many other models that have been running. There are some with huge ethical foundations and guidelines and rules, and there are others that doesn't apply that are more free or doesn't think like that. So we as humans, we must know what is good and what is bad. Ourselves, our humane leaders, what is good and what is bad, and take action of what to do or what not to do, because it is like the lawyer example that you gave us. If you read it like that, it sounds amazing, but some people will say, hey, that sounds like another company, or that sounds like that, and it could bring more problems than solutions. And the thing is, I think AI has come to us in a good way, in a good moment, because we could apply it, because we are using it, but we have to think twice or 3 times when we have given a response because of a problem. Is that, let's say that we asked for instance, the example that you say, hey, Rick has this absentee problem. What should I do? And the answer, you could say, okay, this is the answer by the model. Okay, you could ask again, is this the correct response, or this the correct way to do this, to act? And it will bring you some more response. Ask as many times as needed as you might feel that answer, that response is the proper one, because it will make sense, it will do the click in you. And when you do that, give it away. And as I mentioned, you do it as a humane leader with emotional intelligence, bringing resilience, soft skills in the end.
Yeah, I have definitely seen, and my only experience is with ChatGPT, but my experience has definitely been the more color, the more information and opinions you enter into the question, the query, the better the response is, the more customized it is to the situation. And I mean, it's obviously, from when it first was released publicly, it's made huge strides already in improvement. So I do anticipate it getting better and better. But it still kind of follows the old IT adage of garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put good information in, you don't spend the time to seek the proper opinions, you will not be a humane leader getting a response back. It's just like when you go and query a human for, hey, Roberto, I need your opinion on this. This employee is constantly showing up late to work. And if that's all I tell you, your response is probably, well, you should either get them to come in on time or fire them. Well, I only asked one sentence. How much guidance can you give me on such a simple question? if I explain to you that he's a very valued employee, he's always been on time for the last 20 years, and now suddenly he's being late to the office with no explanation, and that's not like him. Now you start to say, well, could there be a problem at home? Maybe he's got a medical problem. Maybe, so I think, as we learn to use these AI tools, the best leaders will learn the most effective way to use the tools. And those leaders will get ahead. Those who use it ineffectively and cause more chaos and more problems with the tool than benefits, well, those leaders, were probably problems to begin with. AI will make it either amplify your good qualities or will amplify your bad qualities. It's just a tool.
Yes, but it is up to you to choose which ones should be going up instead of going down.
Absolutely agree.
Okay, and before we do the wrap up, I have a question for you. Which soft skills do you think it will be greater with the AI age? Because in the end, we have to be more humane in this AI age. What would you think?
Certainly for me, I think the strongest thing it's going to be best at that I've seen personally so far is humane communication. Being able to concisely communicate the subject area that you're trying to get across to the other person. I think its communication is outstanding. How about you? What's your opinion?
Indeed, as you mentioned, communication is still be the foundation for every relationship, and it won't change because AI. We still have to communicate either in front of the people, either by email or other communications, but we have to be really aware that communication is going to be the tool for effective relationships, effective and efficient relationships. So it'll still be. So don't try to have a style of communication given by AI. Stick with yourself and use the AI for thoughts and ideas and opinions.
Absolutely agree. Good point.
Great, thank you. Well, with this, we'll do the wrap up. And thanks for joining us in another episode of How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. We hope our insights help you become a smarter and more strategic leader. Apply today's lessons to see the positive impact on your team and career. Catch all our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube. Join us next week as we discuss something trendy in the leadership world. Until then, stay humane and stay successful. Bye-bye, Chris.
See you later, Roberto.